It's pissing me off too because so many people, look down and shit on incelibates, on involuntary celibates. And they shit on them, and it just seems wrong. It seems like rich people shitting on the poor. You think that's pretty asshole-ish, right? If somebody were to oh, I'm rich, I'm a millionaire, and so, oh, you're not a millionaire, so you shit on you. That's exactly the attitude that so many people seem to take to involuntary celibates. Instead of trying to help them, they shit on them. And I personally just think that that's wrong. One of the problems of incels, it seems to me, as an outside observer, is that involuntary celibates have this bizarre fantasy that one woman can satisfy all of their needs. That there is this one woman who will be their everything. I'm here to tell you, there is no such person, not for any man. There is no one woman who can be your everything. Okay? Let me give you my personal experience. I'm going to talk about things that actually happened to me, and just to not get into trouble today, I'm going to talk about things that happened to me, 20 years ago. Okay? In 1998, I was living in New York City. I had a place in Lower Manhattan, nice loft, and I was dating a girl called S. She was some kind of woman. She was tall, like I like them. She worked in sort of like a corporate environment, 5'9", 5'10", something like that. An up-and-comer, and she had a body that had been made by hand. She was at the time, she must have been, it was just 28, 29, something like that. And she had a place in the Upper East Side, and I forget, 27. So she worked the financial legal area. An incredible body, and she was very successful. Now, she was my official girlfriend, right? And I would go with her to parties, and she was the girlfriend, and I was the boyfriend. I was the successful novelist boyfriend, right? And she was this successful go-getting girl, and so I'd go with her to dinner parties that she'd have with her bosses and stuff, and these social events. Okay? And at the same time, it pains me to admit it, but even though S was just very, very hot, I was also seeing a girl called, let's call her L. One of the best fucks I've ever had in my life. Now, L was not my type at all. She was this petite little redhead and just this tight little body. 5'1", 5'2", really just short. She wasn't trashy per se, but she was kind of white trash. She was just, unbelievable. Having sex with S was all right, a little bit of a chore sometimes. With L, it was just incredible. It was just fantastic sex. Best sex of my life, no question. The sex with S was sort of like a chore, and it was not a very pleasant chore, to tell you the truth. And I suspect that had it not been for L, I would have broken up with S a lot sooner. But L was just, she just gobbled me up, right? Oh man, I shouldn't have used that terminology. But anyway, there was S, who was my official girlfriend, and L, who was my side piece. And at the same time, there was S, but actually, I'll have to change her name. The third woman, her name was F. Let's call her F. Okay, just to keep them straight, because I just suddenly realized that they had the same first initial. But F, this third girl I was seeing, she was the girl I talked to. I talked to her about books, about current events. She was the girl I would talk about things that were going on in the news. Because S, my official girlfriend, she just wasn't interested in that, or she was interested in gossip insofar as her business was concerned, but she had a fairly curtailed set of interests. She was a great girlfriend, but she wasn't intellectually stimulating, to tell you the truth, and that's why I had F. F stimulated me intellectually. I could talk to her about anything. About my favorite band, Rush, of course. I could talk to her about movies, and we'd have long discussions about movies, about books, about culture. We'd go together to the museum. I love going to museums, right? And S, the official girlfriend, hated going to museums. And quite frankly, L was just not I do not think that she was culturally equipped to go to a museum, to be quite honest. But F, yeah, I'd go to museums with her and I'd have a great time with her. Never slept with her, even though she wanted to have something with me. And she was just sort of like, she was my beta orbiter, okay? Because people always talk about a beta orbiter being a guy, going around a girl, right? But there are also girls who go around guys and who, pine after the guy for ages, right? The fact of the matter is, I didn't even realize that F wanted something with me until years later. But that's another story. And then finally, there was a fourth woman in my life at the time called A. And A was the girl I told all of my hopes and dreams to. Now A, she was married to somebody else, and I had no sexual interest in her whatsoever, and she didn't have any sexual interest in me either. We were each other's literal best friends. We would talk about like emotional shit, right? With A, I would tell her like my deepest, darkest insecurities. I mean, really, stuff that you'd share with your priest or your shrink, right? And I considered A my big sister, because she was a little bit older than me, and she was married. She had a couple of kids, and we were just simpatico, right? And she would tell me deep, dark secrets about her marriage, and her emotional life, her personal life, all kinds of stuff. And she would talk to me about things regarding, her husband and other men in her life, and she wanted my opinion in order to understand it. I was her gay best friend. And she was like my older sister, right? And we'd tell each other like really intimate shit, right? I miss A very much. She passed away from ovarian cancer, as a matter of fact. I miss her to this day greatly because she was a great friend. And there was never any hint of any kind of sex between us or any kind of relationship like that. It was just strictly like we were each other's emotional canes. We would help each other with emotional stuff, okay? And the man-woman thing, okay? And she knew all about me and S and L and F. She knew all about those three women in my life. She thought I was an idiot, right? And because she kept saying that, one of these days this is all gonna blow up in your face. You wait, it's gonna happen. It never did. It never did. Because it rarely does, okay? And you got your shit more or less organized, you can maintain parallel relationships very easily. And the fact of the matter is, if you're a grown man, a mature man who wants to be able to express himself in all facets of who he is, it pays you to have these parallel relationships, because the fact of the matter is there is no one woman who can fill all of these roles in your life. It's impossible. No one woman can be your girlfriend, can be your fantastic mistress, can be your best bud to go out and do all the fun stuff together, can be your emotional crutch who can help you out and talk you through, all your emotional baggage and shit. No such woman can exist. It's impossible, because what happens is that these different roles, they contradict one another. See, for hot sex to exist between a man and a woman, I mean, that blazing hot sex, well, first of all, it's for a short time. It never lasts very long. 6 months is the half-life. It might end, shortly thereafter, or it might end in 18 months, but it always ends. That blazing hot sexual relationship, it always peters out. It always peters out. And it just becomes, well, you're just sort of like stuck with one another. And often as not, if you're attracted to somebody on a purely sexual basis, you'll discover, as I did with Elle, that, yeah, sure, you're attracted to her sexually, but in other aspects, you're not attracted to her at all. And you don't really want to be with her insofar as those other aspects. But there are other women that you do want to be with. And like I say, you don't want to necessarily sleep with them. It's not necessarily a sexual relationship. Like with A really was one of the best friends I ever had, and I think I helped her out, and she definitely helped me out on a lot of things that were really important to me at different times in my life. And I hope that I was as good a friend to her as she was to me, and like I said, I miss her dearly. Now, insofar as F is concerned, she was another girl that she couldn't. She didn't have the equipment to deal with my emotional issues the way that A did. Okay, and there was also another issue that A knew me from way back when, since I had been like, I don't know, at the time I was like 30, and she'd known me since I had been like 20. Okay, she'd always been this big sister figure in my life that I cared for very deeply, whereas F, she was this great girl that I could talk to about all kinds of stuff, but I just didn't want to have any kind of relationship with her beyond that. I wanted to hang out and have a good time with her. You know, she was the buddy I'd watch a movie with, but she wasn't somebody I wanted to sleep with. And she wasn't somebody that I really wanted to talk to and tell about my deepest, darkest secrets. And insofar as S was concerned, my official girlfriend, she was great. She was great. She was a woman that I could see myself, her being the mother of my children. Because at the time, we wanted very similar things insofar as life is concerned. Now I've changed, but it doesn't really matter. At that time, I seriously considered her as a potential wife. But see, insofar as other aspects of my life, of my being, of my person, she was a terrible fit. On the sex part, on the emotional part, the emotional availability, because she had hang-ups of her own. And because of those hang-ups, you know, on an emotional level, we just weren't clicking. But we fit really well together in the kind of life that we wanted to live, or at least the kind of life that I wanted to live at that time, that I thought was something that I wanted long-term, but that's a long conversation. It's for another opportunity. But the point I'm trying to make here, in telling you about these 4 women that I was seeing at the same time back in '98. See, one of them could not fulfill all of the roles that I needed. You see? I needed different women for different roles in my life. Now, at that time, I had 4 women, and I was only sleeping with 2. Okay, the other 2, it was like emotional. It was an emotional thing, an emotional connection. But you see the point I'm trying to make here. It's trying to explain to you that no one woman can fulfill all of your needs because your needs are contradictory. Okay, your hot sexual partner, when she starts hearing about the problems that you had growing up with your parents and shit like that, she's going to be turned off. It's inevitable. Okay? Because part of the reason of hot sex is there's an element of not really knowing who you're with. But when you actually start to know them well, and start to understand them well, then your attraction, your sexual attraction, it goes by the wayside. See? You're not sexually interested in them. Because we're always interested in that which is sort of unknown, that's sort of like dark and mysterious. It's human nature. And to fight it is stupid, okay? And so I'm explaining this to show you in a practical and pragmatic way how in my particular case with these 4 women, it was impossible for any one of them to fulfill all of the roles. Now, for an incel, an involuntary celibate, to go out into the world and expect that they're going to find the one woman who will be the mother of their children, this great lover, this best friend, and at the same time have like this deep and profound emotional connection, it's a wonderful fantasy. But it's a fantasy. It can't happen in real life, no matter how hard you try. Okay? No matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, you will never find such a woman. It's ridiculous to think so. But see, involuntary celibates, they have this illusion, they have this fantasy that there is the one woman who can do it all. And so multiple things happen. First of all, finding this one woman loads them with pressure. Okay? And so every woman that they meet, they're trying to figure out, is she the one woman who can do it all? Is she the one? Yes, no, maybe. Right? They freak out every time they meet some woman because they're terrified that this woman that they're meeting is the one. Okay? Instead of taking the woman that they meet on her own terms. When I met these 4 women over the years at different points in my life, right? I just took them as they were. With A, for instance, she was a student of mine. when I was a 20-year-old, I taught English as a foreign language, and she was one of my pupils. Okay, and from the get-go, I just took her as she was. I thought she was a great girl, and we'd hang out and have coffee. And there was never any kind of sex thing going on because she was a little bit older than me, and just there wasn't that sexual spark, but there was this weird affinity. And I just took her as she was. I wasn't trying to make her be the one. I just took her as she was, and because of this, we established this profound relationship, which is, and I've mentioned it here, and I've been a little cavalier about it, but to tell you the truth, it was one of the most profound relationships of my life. Because I told her things, deep, dark secrets of who I was and my background that I haven't told anybody else, even my wife, quite frankly. Okay? And I was able to do that, but it was because I took her as she was. When I met her, I looked at her and I was not sexually attracted to her, even though she was a lovely woman, but I wasn't sexually attracted to her at all. But I thought that she was a great person, and I liked talking to her. And so I just took her as she was, and that's the problem with involuntary celibates. They don't take a woman as she is. They try to find the one, and so they're both panicking, and when they don't immediately find the one, they sort of like discard the woman, as opposed to not realizing that that woman that they're meeting, yeah, sure, they might not be the future mother of their children, or they might not be the future sex partner, but there might be other aspects of who this woman is that can fill them with joy and happiness. You see what I'm saying? This is a pragmatic approach that it seems to me that involuntary celibates don't they don't follow. They think that, like I said, that there is the one. If involuntary celibates were to throw aside this notion that there is the one, and to realize that they should just take women as they are, as they come at them, and they should try to establish a relationship with every woman, and every woman that they meet, they try to establish a relationship on whatever grounds that relationship is comfortable on. With F, for instance, the girl I would hang out with and watch movies with and have a good time with and have a laugh and do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, when I met her, I just wanted to be friends with her. I never wanted to sleep with her or anything of the sort, okay? It was only, like I said, years later that I realized that she had feelings for me, but that's not my problem now, is it? It was her thing. See, in my own case, I just took her as she was, and we had a great time, a great friendship that unfortunately ended because it got to the point that her desire and impatience blew up the relationship. I mean, well, it was doomed because of this, because she wanted something and I didn't, but that's, again, for another video. The point I'm trying to make, and I guess, like as always, I'm not being very articulate as to how to make it, but involuntary celibates, and if you are one, you should follow this advice, should never try to find the one, and should remove that illusion, that fantasy from their mind, because it prevents them from interacting with women, with whatever woman they find, on a normal basis, because they're so pressured, they are so self-pressured to find the one woman who will make them happy in all regards, that they, on the one hand, self-sabotage any relationship because there's so much pressure and so much anxiety on themselves. They put so much anxiety on themselves that they spurg out, and the woman, whatever woman it is, doesn't want to have anything to do with it, because what woman wants to be with a spurg? No woman, right? So they self-sabotage, and they, by dismissing any woman who might not be the one, they lose out on potentially very profound relationships that can serve them well. You see what I mean? Well, I hope this helps any involuntary celibate who's watching this, because I've thought a lot about the whole issue of involuntary celibacy, and it just seems tragic. It seems tragic, and it's pissing me off too, because so many people look down and shit on incelibates, on involuntary celibates, and they shit on them, and it just seems wrong. It seems like rich people shitting on the poor. You'd think that's pretty asshole-ish, right? If somebody were to you know, oh, I'm rich, I'm a millionaire, and so, oh, you're not a millionaire, so you shit on you. That's exactly the attitude that so many people seem to take to involuntary celibates. Instead of trying to help them, they shit on them. And I personally just think that that's wrong. And so I guess that's why I wanted to make this video for incelibates, so that they, you know, kind of like, you know, get with it. See? You will never find the one. Throw that illusion out of your head and recognize that different women can fulfill you in different ways.